The sunlight gleams off 5 pristine luxury cars lined up in perfect formation at Morrison's car dealership, their chrome bumpers reflecting the faces of veterans who never imagined this moment would come. But what happened next shocked everyone who witnessed it, especially a young black waitress named Chloe Johnson, who 24 hours earlier had lost everything for doing what she believed was right. "Ma'am, you need to step away from that man right now." The sharp voice of manager Patricia Kellaway cuts through the morning rush at Sunnyside Diner, her perfectly manicured finger pointing accusingly at the weathered homeless veterans sitting quietly in the corner booth. "We don't serve as kind here." Chloe Johnson freezes, the steaming plate of eggs and bacon still balanced in her hands. She looks across the bustling downtown diner at Robert Thompson, a gentle soul who'd shuffled in from the cold Detroit morning, his worn military jacket telling a story that most people refuse to read. His kind eyes meet hers, filled with the quiet dignity of someone who's seen too much but still believes in human decency. "Mrs. Kellaway, he's just trying to get warm," Chloe says, her voice steady despite the knot forming in her stomach. "He's not bothering anyone. Look, he's even got money to pay." She gestures toward the crumpled bills Robert had placed carefully on the table, probably his last few dollars. Patricia's face hardens like concrete. "Don't you dare lecture me about my own establishment, Miss Johnson. That man is bad for business. Our paying customers don't want to eat next to some vagrant who probably hasn't showered in weeks." The morning crowd continues their conversations, but Chloe notices the subtle way some customers are indeed glancing over, their expressions ranging from curiosity to discomfort. A businessman in a tailored suit shakes his head disapprovingly while cutting his pancakes. But little did Patricia know that her next decision would set in motion events that would change everyone's life forever. "Either he leaves, or you're fired," Patricia states flatly, crossing her arms. "It's that simple, Chloe. Make your choice." The diner seems to hold its breath. The sizzle of the grill behind the counter, the clink of coffee cups, even the morning traffic outside feels muted. Chloe's heart pounds as she realizes this is one of those moments that defines who you really are when nobody's watching except the whole world is watching. Walking deliberately to Robert's booth, Chloe sets the plate down in front of him with a gentle smile. "Here you go, sir. Eggs over easy, just like you ordered." Robert's weathered face breaks into a grateful smile that transforms his entire appearance. "Thank you, miss. You're very kind." "That's it." Patricia's voice echoes through the diner. "You're fired, Chloe Johnson. Clean out your locker and get out of my restaurant." The bustling atmosphere comes to a complete standstill. Conversations halt mid-sentence. Coffee cups pause halfway to lips. Even the cook stops flipping hash browns to watch this confrontation unfold. Marcus Williams, Chloe's coworker and the closest thing she has to family in this city, steps forward from behind the counter where he'd been watching helplessly. "Patricia, you can't be serious," Marcus says, his voice tight with disbelief. "Chloe's been your best waitress for 3 years. She's never missed a shift, never complained, and brings in more tips than anyone else." But Patricia's decision is final, written across her stone-cold expression. "Security of my business comes first." She made her choice. Chloe unties her apron with trembling fingers, her mind racing with the practical realities crashing down around her. Rent is due in 5 days. Her student loans won't pause for unemployment. The part-time job she'd been hoping to land at the community college just fell through last week. This decision would change everything about her carefully planned life. As she walks toward the employee break room, Robert stands slowly, his joints clearly aching from years of hard living and military service. "Miss," he calls softly, his voice carrying an unexpected strength. "What you just did, that took real courage." Chloe pauses, turning back to face him. There's something in his eyes now, something that wasn't there before. A spark of recognition, maybe even hope. "I want you to know," Robert continues, his words measured and deliberate, "that kindness like yours doesn't go unnoticed in this world. Sometimes it takes time, but the universe has a way of balancing things out." Patricia rolls her eyes dramatically. "Save the philosophy for someone who cares, old man. You need to leave too. But Robert doesn't move. Instead, he reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a business card, worn and creased from handling. He extends it toward Chloe, and she notices his hands aren't shaking anymore. In fact, they're remarkably steady for someone who's supposedly been living on the streets. If you ever need anything, Miss Johnson, he says with quiet conviction, anything at all, you call that number. And I promise you won't regret helping me today. The real shock was still coming, though none of them could have imagined it. As Chloe takes the card, she notices something that makes her breath catch. The business card isn't for a shelter or social service. It's embossed with gold lettering for a law firm she recognizes from the business district. Walking out into the harsh Detroit morning, her final paycheck in one hand and Robert's mysterious business card in the other, Chloe can't shake the feeling that this homeless veteran isn't quite who he appears to be. The way he spoke, the confidence behind his promise, even the quality of that business card, all suggest there's much more to Robert Thompson's story than meets the eye. But what she doesn't know is that in exactly 24 hours, 5 luxury cars will change not just her life, but the lives of everyone involved in this moment of human compassion gone wrong. Chloe walks slowly through the park near downtown, her mind still reeling from the confrontation at the diner. The afternoon sun filters through the oak trees, but she barely notices the warmth on her shoulders. Robert's words echo in her head, "You won't regret this, I promise you that." What could a homeless veteran possibly do to change her situation? Her phone buzzes. Marcus. "Girl, where are you?" "I heard what happened with Peterson," his voice carries concern mixed with frustration. "That man's been looking for a reason to fire you since day one." "I'm at Jackson Park," Chloe sighs, settling onto a weathered bench. "I don't know what I'm going to do, Marcus. Rent's due in 2 weeks, and I've got maybe $300 to my name." "Listen to me," Marcus's tone becomes firm. "My cousin owns that food truck by the courthouse. It's not glamorous, but he needs help for the lunch rush. It'll keep you afloat while you figure things out." Before Chloe can respond, she spots Robert approaching from across the park. He moves with unexpected purpose, his military posture more pronounced in the open space. "Marcus, I'll call you back. Robert's here." Robert sits beside her, and up close, Chloe notices something she'd missed at the diner. His eyes hold an intelligence that doesn't match his circumstances. "You didn't have to do what you did today," he says quietly. "Yes, I did," Chloe replies without hesitation. "It was the right thing to do." Robert nods slowly. "You know, most people see the clothes, the situation, and they make assumptions. They don't see the person underneath. What do they not see when they look at you?" Chloe asks, genuinely curious. Before Robert can answer, another man approaches. He's younger, maybe mid-30s, with the same disciplined walk. "Robert, there you are. We've been looking for you." "Danny," Robert stands, embracing the newcomer. "Chloe, this is Danny Rodriguez. We served together." Danny shakes Chloe's hand warmly. "So you're the woman who stood up to that manager. Robert told me what happened. That took guts." "Anyone would have done the same," Chloe deflects. "No," Danny shakes his head. "Most people would have looked the other way. You reminded me of something Robert used to tell us overseas: character isn't what you do when people are watching. It's what you do when no one's looking except yourself." Chloe glances between the two men, sensing layers of history she doesn't understand. "You both sound like you've seen a lot together." 23 years in the service, Robert says. "Danny here runs a veteran support group downtown. We help guys transition back home. Which is why," Danny continues, "what happened to Robert shouldn't have happened to anyone. He's been trying to rebuild, and people like that manager make it impossible." As they talk, Chloe notices a man in a dark suit watching them from near the park entrance. He's too far away to hear their conversation, but his attention seems focused entirely on Robert. When she points him out, Robert's expression hardens. "That's been happening more lately," Danny mutters. "Someone's keeping tabs on you, brother." Robert stands abruptly. I need to handle some things. Chloe, can you meet me here tomorrow afternoon? Same time? Of course, but Robert, what's going on? You helped me when you didn't have to, Robert says, his voice carrying weight. I once had the means to help people, to make a real difference. I lost that ability, but maybe I'm getting it back. After Robert and Danny leave, Chloe remains on the bench, processing the conversation. Her phone rings again. Marcus. You need to get down here, his voice is tight with urgency. Peterson just fired Jenny for taking too long on her break, and when I tried to speak up for her, he threatened my job too. This man is out of control. I'll be right there, Chloe says, but as she stands to leave, she catches sight of the suited man again. This time, he's talking rapidly into his phone while watching Robert's retreating figure. Back at the diner, Chloe finds Marcus pacing outside the employee entrance, his usual calm demeanor cracked with anger. He's in there yelling at Tommy now because someone left the coffee pot on. 3 people fired in one day, Chloe. 3. Through the window, they can see Peterson berating the teenage busboy, his face red with manufactured outrage. Other employees keep their heads down, afraid to make eye contact. This is about control, Chloe realizes aloud. He's making an example of everyone he thinks might challenge him. Well, his little power trip just cost him his best waitress, Marcus says, squeezing her shoulder. Come on, let's get out of here before he sees us and decides to cause more trouble. As they walk away, Chloe can't shake the feeling that everything is connected somehow. Robert's mysterious past, the man watching him, Peterson's escalating behavior, and the promise of change that seemed to hang in the air like electricity before a storm. But what she doesn't know is that Marcus has been carrying something in his pocket all day. Something he found while cleaning out the storage room that morning. An old photograph tucked behind a loose baseboard, showing Robert in military dress uniform, standing next to a man whose face would be recognizable to anyone who follows local politics. Chloe's fingers trace over the military service record she found online, her eyes widening as she reads about Robert Thompson's decorated service history. Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Silver Star. The list of commendations stretches down her laptop screen like a testament to a life of honor she never imagined. 15 years of service, she whispers to herself, studying a photograph of a younger Robert in full dress uniform. What happened to you? Her cramped apartment feels even smaller as she processes this revelation. The man she defended, the homeless veteran everyone dismissed, had once been a hero. The weight of this discovery settles in her chest like a stone. The next morning, Chloe steels herself for what she knows will be an uncomfortable confrontation. Walking into Murphy's diner feels like entering enemy territory, but she needs her final paycheck. The familiar smell of coffee and bacon grease hits her, along with memories of better times. Manager Peterson looks up from behind the counter, his expression souring immediately. Well, look who decided to show her face. I'm just here for my paycheck, Mr. Peterson, Chloe says, keeping her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. Your paycheck? Peterson laughs bitterly. After what you cost this place. The health department showed up yesterday because someone reported us for not maintaining sanitary conditions around the building. Wonder who could have complained about how we handle the homeless situation. Behind the counter, Marcus catches Chloe's eye and shakes his head slightly. He hadn't said anything, but Peterson's paranoia is spiraling. Look, sir, I just did what I thought was right, Chloe responds. That veteran deserved basic human dignity. Human dignity doesn't pay the bills, Peterson snaps. Then his eyes narrow as he spots Marcus listening to their conversation. And speaking of bills, Martinez, I've been thinking about restructuring some positions. Your hours might be getting cut significantly. Marcus steps forward, his jaw set with determination. You can't punish me because you're mad at Chloe. That's not legal, and it's not right. I can do whatever I want in my establishment, Peterson retorts. And if you don't like it, there's the door. The tension in the diner becomes palpable. Other employees pause their work, sensing the confrontation escalating. Chloe feels a surge of guilt watching Marcus put his own job on the line defending her principles. "Mr. Peterson, please," Chloe interjects. "Marcus had nothing to do with my decision. Don't take this out on him." "Oh, but he does have something to do with it," Peterson says with a cruel smile. "I've been watching him give away free meals to people who can't pay." Sound familiar? Marcus's face flushes, but he doesn't back down. "Those were paying customers who came up $1 or $2 short. I've been covering the difference out of my own tips." "Not anymore, you're not," Peterson declares. "Consider this your final warning, Martinez. One more act of unauthorized charity, and you're gone." But what nobody knows is that across town, something extraordinary is unfolding. Back at her apartment that evening, Chloe discovers an envelope slipped under her door. Her name is written on it in Robert's careful handwriting. Inside, she finds a letter that makes her heart race. "Chloe, your kindness reminded me who I used to be. Tomorrow, I'm going to show you and Marcus and everyone else that sometimes the people society throws away still have the power to change lives. Meet me at Veterans Memorial Park at noon. Trust me, everything is about to change in ways you never imagined. The past I've been running from is about to become the future I choose to embrace." As Chloe reads these words, her phone buzzes with a text from Marcus. "Peterson just fired me. Said I was creating a hostile work environment by standing up for you. But honestly, I'm not even upset. I got a weird feeling something big is about to happen." Chloe stares at the letter, then at Marcus's message, her pulse quickening. Robert's words echo in her mind as she remembers the mysterious observer from the park, the way Robert carried himself despite his circumstances, and now these military honors she'd uncovered. She looks out her apartment window toward the downtown area where she knows Robert sleeps, and for the first time since being fired, she feels a spark of anticipation rather than despair. Whatever Robert is planning, whatever secrets his past holds, she can sense that tomorrow will bring answers. But as she prepares for bed, Chloe has no idea that at this very moment, Robert is making phone calls that will set in motion events beyond her wildest dreams, and that the mysterious observer has been waiting 20 years for this exact moment to arrive. The next morning, Chloe's phone buzzes with an urgent text from Robert. "Meet me at the Veterans Center on 5th Street. Bring Marcus. Today changes everything." Her heart pounds as she reads the message twice, remembering his cryptic letter from the night before. She calls Marcus immediately. "Did you get Robert's text?" "Yeah, I'm already getting dressed," Marcus replies, his voice tight with anticipation. "Something big is happening today, Chloe. I can feel it." An hour later, they stand outside the weathered brick building that houses the downtown Veterans Center. The morning sun casts long shadows across the empty parking lot, but Chloe notices several cars already there, more than she'd expect for this early hour. Inside, the sparse meeting room hums with quiet conversation. A dozen veterans sit in folding chairs, their faces showing a mixture of hope and skepticism. Robert stands at the front, wearing a clean button-down shirt Chloe has never seen before. He looks different today, more confident, like the military leader he once was. "Thank you all for coming," Robert begins, his voice carrying an authority that fills the room. "Some of you know why we're here. Others are about to find out what's been years in the making." Chloe exchanges a confused glance with Marcus as they take seats in the back row. What has Robert been planning? The door opens with a loud creak, and a well-dressed man in an expensive suit enters. Chloe recognizes him immediately as the mysterious observer from the park. The room falls silent as he approaches Robert. "Hello, brother," the man says, his voice cold but not hostile. Robert's jaw tightens. "Ethan. I wasn't sure you'd show up. You think I'd miss this chance to see if you finally lost your mind completely?" Ethan Thompson surveys the room with calculating eyes. "Giving away your inheritance to a bunch of strangers?" The veterans shift uncomfortably in their chairs, but Robert remains steady. "These aren't strangers, Ethan. They're my brothers. They serve their country just like I did, and they deserve better than sleeping in doorways and eating from dumpsters." Chloe's mind races as pieces fall into place. Robert has an inheritance? And Ethan is his brother, the one who's been watching him. You lost the right to call them brothers when you got discharged in disgrace, Ethan snaps, his composure cracking. When you threw away everything our family built. I made mistakes, Robert admits, his voice growing stronger. But I won't let those mistakes define the rest of my life. Or the lives of people who need help. A veteran with gray hair and weathered hands stands up. Robert helped me get clean 3 years ago. Found me a job, a place to live. If it wasn't for him, I'd be dead by now. Another veteran nods. He got me into the VA hospital when no one else would listen. Saved my leg from amputation. One by one, the veterans stand and share their stories. Robert helped this one find housing, that one reconnect with family, another one get treatment for PTSD. Chloe feels tears welling up as she realizes Robert has been quietly changing lives for years, even while living on the streets himself. This is exactly what I was afraid of, Ethan says, but his voice has lost its edge. You always did put everyone else before yourself, even when we were kids. Robert steps forward. Chloe, would you stand up please? Surprised, Chloe rises from her chair. Every eye in the room turns to her, and she feels her cheeks burning. This young woman lost her job 2 days ago for showing kindness to a homeless veteran, Robert announces. She didn't know me from any other person on the street, but she saw someone who needed help and she acted. That's the kind of person who deserves to be lifted up. Marcus squeezes her hand as she sits back down, overwhelmed by the attention and praise. Ethan stares at Chloe for a long moment, then looks back at his brother. The inheritance from Uncle William's estate. You're really going to give it all away? Not all of it, Robert says with a slight smile. Just most of it. I've been planning this for months, working with lawyers and the dealership. Everything's ready. What dealership? Chloe whispers to Marcus, but he just shrugs, looking as confused as she feels. Robert walks to the window and points outside. The cars should be arriving any minute now. 5 of them. Brand new, fully loaded, one for each veteran who's helped me build our support network here over the past 2 years. As if on cue, the rumble of engines fills the parking lot. Chloe rushes to the window with the others and gasps. 5 gleaming luxury sedans are pulling into the lot, their paint jobs catching the morning sun like mirrors. But tomorrow, Robert continues, his eyes finding Chloe's, there's going to be one more surprise. Chloe, I need you to meet me at Patterson Motors on Industrial Boulevard at 10 a.m. sharp. And bring your driver's license. The next morning arrives with an unusual energy crackling through the air. Chloe finds herself standing outside Morrison's Auto Gallery, the city's most prestigious car dealership, wondering why Robert asked her to meet him here. The gleaming showroom windows reflect the early sunlight, and she can see Marcus approaching from across the street, looking just as puzzled as she feels. You have any idea what this is about? Marcus asks, joining her on the sidewalk. Before Chloe can respond, she spots familiar figures emerging from various directions, the veterans from yesterday's meeting at the center, all walking toward the dealership with expressions of curiosity and hope. Robert appears at the dealership's entrance, but he looks different today. He's wearing a clean shirt and slacks, his hair combed back, and there's something in his posture that speaks of quiet dignity rather than the defeated slouch she's grown accustomed to seeing. Behind him stands a professionally dressed woman who must be the dealership manager, holding a clipboard and wearing a knowing smile. Friends, Robert calls out, his voice carrying clearly across the parking lot. Thank you all for coming. I know this seems strange, but I have something important to share with each of you. His eyes find Chloe's, and she sees tears beginning to form. 3 days ago, I was ready to give up on everything. I felt forgotten by the world, invisible to everyone around me. But one person saw me as human when I couldn't even see myself that way. The veterans gather closer, forming a loose circle around Robert. Chloe notices several of them wiping their eyes, clearly moved by his words. Marcus reaches over and squeezes her hand supportively. Robert continues, his voice growing stronger. Yesterday, my brother Ethan revealed something I'd forgotten in all my pain and struggle. Our father left us both an inheritance years ago, money I never claimed because I was too proud, too stubborn to accept help from a family I felt had abandoned me. He pauses, looking at each face in the circle. But pride doesn't feed the hungry or shelter the homeless. And stubbornness doesn't honor the sacrifice of good people who risk everything to help strangers. The dealership manager steps forward, and Chloe notices 5 sets of car keys glinting in her hands. Her heart begins to race as the impossible starts to feel possible. Each of you has shown me what brotherhood really means, Robert says, turning to address the veterans directly. You stood by me yesterday when you had every reason to walk away. You believed in redemption when I'd given up on it myself. He nods to the manager, who begins calling out names. One by one, the veterans step forward to receive keys to brand new vehicles, a practical Honda CR-V for James, the older veteran with mobility issues, a reliable Toyota Camry for Maria, the single mother struggling to find work, a sturdy Ford F-150 for Carlos, who'd been walking 3 miles each way to his construction job. Each gift is met with tears, embraces, and expressions of disbelief that gradually transform into overwhelming joy. Chloe watches in amazement as lives change before her eyes. These aren't just cars, they're freedom, dignity, and hope wrapped in steel and glass. They represent the ability to get to job interviews, to take children to school, to reclaim independence that circumstances had stolen away. When only one set of keys remains, Robert walks directly to Chloe. His hands shake slightly as he extends them toward her. This last one isn't actually for a veteran, he says softly. It's for someone who showed a broken-down old soldier that kindness still exists in this world. Chloe stares at the keys, unable to process what's happening. Robert, I can't accept this. I just did what anyone should do. That's exactly why you deserve it, Robert replies, pressing the keys into her palm. You didn't help me because you expected something in return. You helped me because it was right. He gestures toward a gleaming silver Honda Accord parked nearby. I've been taking the bus to job interviews for 6 months. Now you won't have to. The emotions overwhelm her completely. Tears stream down Chloe's face as she realizes the magnitude of what Robert has done. He's taken his pain and transformed it into hope for others. He's turned his lowest moment into everyone else's fresh start. Marcus steps forward, and Robert turns to him with a smile. I didn't forget about you, son. Maria's husband runs a veteran-owned construction company, and they're looking for a good supervisor. Someone with integrity who stands up for what's right. He hands Marcus a business card. The job starts Monday, and it pays twice what the diner was giving you. The parking lot fills with laughter, tears, and the sound of car engines starting for the first time in their new owner's hands. Chloe finds herself surrounded by embraces from people she barely knew 24 hours ago but who now feel like family. As the celebration continues around them, Robert pulls Chloe aside for a private moment. I want you to understand something, he says quietly. This isn't just about gratitude. This is about showing the world that every act of kindness creates ripples we can't even imagine. You saved my life, Chloe. Not with money or charity, but by seeing me as a human being worth caring about. 6 months later, Chloe drives her Honda to her new job as a community outreach coordinator for the Veterans Center, a position that opened up after the local news covered Robert's story. Marcus manages his construction crew with the same fairness he showed at the diner, and Robert has become a full-time volunteer, helping other veterans navigate the system that once failed him. The 5 cars still roll through the city every day, carrying their owners to jobs, to family gatherings, to new possibilities that seemed impossible before one homeless veteran decided that kindness deserved kindness in return. And in a world that often feels divided and hopeless, their story reminds everyone who hears it that sometimes the smallest acts of human decency can change everything. The lesson echoes through every mile driven and every life touched. We're all just one moment of compassion away from transforming not only someone else's world, but our own as well.